Marketing the Podcast. In this episode, we're going to be talking about price hikes because Disney have just announced, just before we recorded, a whole host of different price rises. Annual passes are going up. They've also introduced, this is probably the biggest thing for me, was date tickets. They've also increased the price of the parking, they've increased the price of food and all the rest of it. But I kind of want to break this down into two things. First off, the price rises, but also then I want to look at this date process for buying tickets for the parks and what I think that's going to be a big issue with. So first off, let's deal with the price rises. So everything's going up. Some things are going up a little bit more than others, like the annual passes. Some of them are going like $50 a year. Some of them are only going up $5. Parking's gone up. Now I'm going to be honest and say this story is always one of those kind of odd ones because this to me is a bit like it's going to rain at some point. The prices will go up. Inflation forces businesses to put prices up. Costs continue to rise. Products are going up. Wages go up. Nothing. As much as we live in a world where everything looks like it's always going down because we're always looking for bargains and we're always looking for sales, that's not really how things really work in the real business, because they're usually just trying to flog you stuff that's not sold at the higher price. Sales, things that you buy regularly generally go up. You look at food and things like that. Generally, the price of things continue to rise. Running my own business, I had a product come in that I sell day in, day out, and it gone up 15% overnight. I passed that. I have to pass that thing on to my customers. And Disney are going to do the same. They're going to keep up with inflation. They're going to keep rising the prices. They've got to do it for that reason, because of inflation, but also I know for a fact that they are trying to, they want to make as much money as possible. But it's always this kind of weird thing. Whenever these stories come on, people are always going, hey, they're pricing us out and we can't afford this and we can't do this and it's costing too much. Nothing. I can't see a reason why Disney why would they want to cut prices of stuff? I know everyone wants sales and discounts, but for me as a business owner, I just looked at this and goes, well, they've got to do it. It's inflation. This is the standardized business practices.
Well, I mean, it's not just as simple as inflation, obviously. You've got that, if you took the Economics 101 class, you've got that basic rise of demand versus cost. I'm doing it backwards, but I didn't want to do it like this. And you've got that chart. And, you can raise prices until demand, will no longer pay those prices. That's regardless of what your costs are. If your costs are higher than what the market is willing to pay, then you're just not going to make it, period. But so Disney's got a couple of different factors in play here. One, they are going to price some people out. That's just inevitable anytime you raise prices. And that sucks for those people. It really does, because Disney is supposed to be for everybody. That was the idea behind the parks. That was what Walt wanted. He wanted anybody to be able to go to Disneyland or Disney World, have their kids there, meet Mickey Mouse, enjoy the experience, etc. So pricing them out sucks. But at the same time, from Disney's point of view, they probably are going to raise that price, and they're not going to see much of a dip because it's still the brand. There's still more than enough people to meet that cross of supply and demand. And then another point, which you kind of alluded to, they are adding a ton to the parks over the next couple of years. They just added Toy Story Land. I'm looking forward to doing that later this year. Star Wars is, of course, right around the corner. Notwithstanding neither of these were cheap, you now are also increasing the demand on the park because people want to go to these new rides. They want to ride on the Slinky Coaster. They want to ride on the Avatar Flight of Passage. They want to ride on whatever the Star Wars rides are going to be, whatever the attractions are going to be. And in fact, raising the prices is going to kind of help push the demand down just a little bit, keep the parks from overcrowding just too much. Again, it sucks for the people who are being blocked out, and I do feel sympathy for them. But it's the way it has to be to a certain degree.
I mean, there are certain aspects. It's like, the foods have gone up, the magic bands have gone up. There's just only been a price rise this month of things going up. And the trouble is, like I said, is some of this stuff is related. And now I'd look at maybe it's like car parking. Now, I could understand from the car parking point of view, like, well, that car park really, in all honesty, other than the only thing that's really would have raised would have been the cost that you're paying your staff, because you've built maintenance and all the rest of it. It's a car park. There's not a lot of cost running a car park compared to anything else, compared to how much money they raise. And I always feel like I'm getting ripped off when I'm paying for car parking going into Disney parks anyway. So I can see the car parking, raising the prices there. It's expensive enough as it is. It was 20 odd bucks a day, as it was 22 bucks, whatever it was. It was expensive for a day for parking. And when you didn't really feel like you were paying enough to be in there, you probably shouldn't need to be paying anyway. But so I can see that, and I can see, but it's like food, food prices go up, food prices change, staffing costs, etc. So it's the kind of thing, but these kind of stories always kind of get that thing of everyone has a negative reaction because no one likes price rises. But this kind of thing of, under no stretch of the imagination, Disney are going to like lower prices on food when they're going up. Now, this is where I want to bring on this other thing, and they've introduced this like date pricing on their park. So if you want to go on a Tuesday in January, it's going to cost cheaper per day than if you want to go in on Thanksgiving. So say Thanksgiving's $10 more or $5 more than going on a low season. Not that there is one, but so they were doing adjustable prices, and this is something they've introduced in other parks. They do it in Shanghai, they do it in lots of other places. This is kind of the same thing as train tickets, plane lines. It price varies on demand. When there's lots of demand, they put the price up. When there's a lot of demand, they bring the price down. And so, it really depends on when you go, or if you're going to be paying more or less. Now, obviously, it sucks if you're going at high season, and it's awful when you go, and it's great if you're going at low season. It might cost you less. You might be looking at going, oh, it's cheaper for us to go in this month than it is to go at this time, which is exactly what Disney want. That's it. If you're looking at going, well, it's cheaper to go in February than it is in November, they want you to go in February because that's the whole point of the system, is to try and encourage you to go during the quiet times because they can get more people in at the busy time anyway.
Yeah, it goes back to what I was saying at the beginning. There are people who will be there in November no matter what. Just, it doesn't matter. They know there are going to be crowds there. They know the rides are going to be ridden, the shows are going to be watched, the merchandise will be bought. That's ultimately what they want to do. They want to get people there in February too, so you incentivize it. They've been doing it for years, not with the park prices, but with the hotel prices. If you look on, the Disney approved places, Art of Animation, the various, the sports and the movie and all those ones, the prices are always lower at the slower time of year. If you're signed up for the newsletters, you'll get emails saying, if you buy 5 nights, we'll throw in a 6th night free or whatever discount during those times of year, because they want people in the parks during those slow periods.
I mean, over in Disneyland Paris, if you want to get more bang for your buck, you go in the winter. They will offer you 2 nights free in the hotel with your package. They'll offer you 2 more days free at the parks because it's the winter, it's cold, it's wet. They know there's less people going. So it happens all the time. But also, they're going to be increasing it for like the weekends cost more. And also, when we go look at going to parks, you look at the tracker, or you look at the dates and work out, the busy calendar days, and you go, okay, we'll, avoid Animal Kingdom that day, but we'll do it this day. They can adjust that. The weekends can cost more. The kids' holidays are going to cost more. But it's that kind of thing of I can see it from both sides on this. On one hand, it's a lot easier when they just turn around and go, right, every day, this is the cost per day. It's the same all year round. There is no fee. It's the fact of you're going to go, if say you're a family and can only go during the kids' holidays, and you're paying the premium because you're paying premium for flights, premium for hotels, premium then to get in the parks. This is where, this whole thing comes in of being very, you're paying for going in more. I know they were even trying something like this in supermarkets over here. They were doing like trials of putting like price adjustings, and people don't like it because you feel like you're being fleeced because you've got no control over it.
Well, yeah, and you start to feel fleeced when you're coming in at a time when the price is at a normal price rather than at the lower price. Because I don't know what it looks like. I haven't seen that trial, but I'm just going to assume something like normally a thing of milk is 3 pounds, but during like a lesser season, it might be 2.5 pounds or something like that. I would certainly be annoyed buying it at 3 pounds, knowing I could have bought it at 2.5 pounds at another point.
But more and more importantly, it's 10 degrees hotter today, so we put the price of a bottle of water up 10 pence. That kind of, literally it's cold outside, so we've jacked the price of soup up, but dropped the price of ice cream. That kind of thing and this is essentially what Disney are going to be doing. They can adjust those prices. They, at the minute it's all going to be nicely, softly. You start waiting until things like Christmas Day and Thanksgiving, they are just going to keep, they're $5-10. You're going to be hitting like, like they do these parties and they charge you more to go in at special days. They can start turning the parks into suddenly Christmas Day could be $200 a day in 5 years' time, where the rest of the days are less because they'll pay for it. And if they don't, they can say they do put it up at that price. Then they're slowing down. They bring it back down on 175. They can adjust it on the fly. They can. This is it. Is that figure? Ooh,
it's a very slippery. There we go, slippery slope. That's what I was going to say too. Yeah. And it's not just a slippery slope in terms of like how they jack the prices up. It could very well become that Disney just becomes an elitist playground. You can't afford to be there unless you're making a 6-figure per year. Maybe both you and your spouse are making 6-figure per year. Maybe you don't have kids. That's one of the for myself. That is one of the main reasons I can afford to go to Disney as often as I do. Is I don't have a kid to take care of.
Yeah,
I have friends with kids. I obviously I'm sure my sisters are probably going to have kids at some point, but they're expensive. They not just money wise, time wise. There's a reason why Thanksgiving and Christmas are huge Disney days. That's because those are times when kids are off. Well, you can't go in the middle of February because your kid is in school.
No, but then this is the thing of Disney have been very smart in marketing towards younger adults. You look at Disneyland, of how popular that is for locals, and people go in there and then they are 20 somethings, 30 somethings, and then you've got the retired people going into food and wine, and the crowds at the parks are still just getting bigger. They're still getting busier. No matter what they keep doing with the prices, they keep getting busier. It's not like there is no low season anymore. What used to be down, I was only listening like podcasts and stuff, and they're talking about how the low season is now becoming the high season, and the high season is becoming lower because everyone's, people's habits are changing and stuff, and it's just school holidays and all the rest of it. And these whole price rises, it's just flicking things around, and it's going to be getting so much more expensive. For us, if you're looking at, I don't know whether or not it's this price structure is going to come into effect if I'm buying like a 14-day pass. This might not become such a thing because they're going, we're going to get you for 14 days. It's fine. But, if you're just buying them, per day a Magic Your Way, it's going to get a lot more expensive. Obviously, annual passes, they block you out depending on what you've got.
Sort of. Yeah.
Yeah. It really depends on what kind of passes you get of when you can go, and all the rest of it. It's a very... there's that kind of thing. The part of me that says about like the price rises of things like food and the ticket prices going up annually, I can deal with that because I think of like inflation and costs go up. But this thing of the tier pricing is like, it's like, but we have it everywhere else. If you go to the cinema, on a Tuesday on a low or a Wednesday, that it's cheaper than on a Friday night. When you go on a cinema, or you go to a theater, it's more expensive on a Saturday night than a Saturday morning. Everywhere else time of entertainment does it, but Disney never really gone down here. But Universal, I think, they do this. They've been doing this for a while.
Yeah, and again, though, they're as expensive as movies are getting, there is a difference between, that $20 ticket and the $14 ticket versus, an $175 ticket and a $200 ticket. So Disney is in a very tough position here. And There is no right answer. Just absolutely no right answer. Because if you stick to Walt's vision and keep the prices low, the ticket prices, you can kind of make it up by maybe marking up the prices in the park a little bit, like just kind of scooching them up a little bit. But if you keep those ticket prices low, yes, you're holding to Walt's vision, and I think that would be the ideal, because that it should be. Disney should be open to anybody. But by lowering the ticket prices, again, you're going to increase the number of people in the parks, which on face value is a good thing. Disney wants more people in the parks, but it overcrowds the parks. It means all the lines go on forever. There's tons of people. If you're like me, you don't like being, surrounded by people 24/7. The crowds kind of start to get claustrophobic after a while, and you start to get a deteriorated experience for at least some of the park patrons. On the other hand, if you raise the price, you'll have less people coming in because some people can't afford it or they can't justify the cost. But now it's becoming elitist. It's becoming something that only the rich people can do. So where's the happy medium? Is this tiered structure? No, this tiered structure probably is not the solution to that. But what is? Maybe, I don't know. The smarter people than I have tried, and they haven't figured it out. So I don't know.
Is that kind of line of kind of looking at this tiered system and go, it's not great because it should be the same for every single day. But then when you do start thinking and breaking it down and going, everything else doesn't do this. Nobody else does this for their products that are, the prices go up when it's needed and prices go down when they're slack. And Disney are, it's that thing of it's just going to cost you more. But then I always like when the press release comes out and it's like, you can, sometimes it's cheaper. It's like, yeah, I suppose technically there are going to be some people that might be all right. Am I going to look at when I next go to the parks and go, it's cheaper for me to go in February on February the 2nd by $10 more than going on when something else is. But yeah, it's that trick of trying to work out what the best time of going but there's a lot more to it than just the ticket prices. It's the airline of your kids at school, your work period of you've time to save money to go. There are so many different aspects of if you turn around and go, it's going to cost you, I don't know, say a trip for me, maybe it's going to cost me another £2,000 more in airline tickets, hotels, park tickets to go one time a year to another. That is a big enough sway to move you to a different period. But then that's going to be across the board: hotel, flights, tickets. It's going to be everything that kicks you in.
Well, I'll be curious to see how the prices on those things change, because in my experience, at times when you can get the hotels at cheaper prices, so basically the same times that we would expect the ticket prices to be lower under this new system, airline tickets have also been lower. Generally speaking, I assume that Disney, Southwest, United, Delta, all the major airlines are looking at basically the same data and reaching the same conclusion, which is we need to lower prices at this time to incentivize people to come on to the planes, to come down to Florida, Orlando, go over to Anaheim and California, etc. I don't think that'll change. I think that you will still see a net lower cost at these low periods. I don't think it's going to be something like, well, we're lowering the ticket price, but we're going to raise the hotel price at the same time. No, they still want to incentivize people to come in. The big trick, of course, as you said, will be the kids, because not many people, in fact, I would say most people, are not going to just randomly pull their kids out of school to go to Disney World. They're going to do it during planned holidays.
Becoming a major, it's not quite illegal over here, but if you take the kids out of school in this country, out of school holidays, you will get fined by the school. There's literally councils will send you fines and you will get a mark. And you can get, if you do it 2-3 times in so many years, you can get I don't even know if it's illegal, but it can be taken to police. It's being taken very seriously here in the UK. So is what's happening over here is the kids' holiday prices are skyrocketing, and parents are furious because the kids' holiday prices are 3 times the cost of the week before, and this is the big issue. And because of what's happening with school things, but that's happening right across the board without Disney. So let alone, the only good thing is generally with Disney is sometimes like the holidays don't match up with like Europe and England. So like our summer holidays run like end of July to the beginning of September, whereas yours tend to run like June till August. So when like August would be a lot of British go out there, you know, the Americans have all gone back to school. So that sometimes it can work out fine. But generally, yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what they do. But we'd love to know what you guys think at home of all these different price rises and these new tiered ticket system. Love to know what you guys are thinking. Go check us out over at thiskingdom.com. Subscribe on the YouTube channel and all the different podcast systems. James, where can they find you?
Find me heroiclegacy.com. And I'd also love to hear from people in the comments of the video or wherever. What are some ideas for what Disney could do to keep to Walt's vision of making Disney World open to everybody without making it a terrible experience for everybody because of the overcrowding? Throw out anything.
Yeah. Love to know your thoughts. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you guys soon. Later.